Hey there, Saki here from Saki Tech, and in today's video we will do a full comparison between the LG G6 versus the Samsung Galaxy S8. Both the LG G6 and the Galaxy S8 became available for sale in April 2017. As they both pack a powerful punch in their unique ways, it has made a lot of people curious, and people are asking questions like, is the LG G6 better than the Galaxy S8? Or is the Galaxy S8 better than the LG G6? And a lot of people are actually trying to decide between the two. Shall I buy the LG G6 or the Galaxy S8? In this video, we will do a deep dive into every aspect of these smartphones and analyze the differences. Towards the end of the video, we will give you a crystal clear answer based on the pros and cons of each device. So let's dive in and start with the build quality. First off, let's talk about the design. Unquestionably, the Galaxy S8 is the better looking phone, which is largely due to the sleek dual curved edge design combined with that large and prominent display. Everything just blends together. The curved design language is something that no other phone has been able to replicate, which gives the Galaxy S8 a unique edge. The G6 is by no means an ugly phone, but it simply doesn't look as sleek and sexy as the S8. As for the build, both phones have a front and rear glass build with a metal trim surrounding the edges. The Galaxy S8 uses Gorilla Glass 5 for both glass panels, front and back. LG G6 uses Gorilla Glass 5 for its rear, but Gorilla Glass 3 for its front panel. It might be natural to conclude that the S8 is more durable, yet that's not the case. The LG G6 has a metal backing on the rear under the Gorilla Glass 5 and also feels more solid in your hands. Not only that, it has passed 14 military-grade 810G tests under various conditions. It certainly is the more durable smartphone and emanates a unique, rugged flavor. So while the S8 wins in beauty, the LG G6 wins in build and durability. Both the S8 and G6 offer IP68 grade water resistance, which means you are welcome to use your phone in the rain and also be fully protected against dust, water splashes, and you can even dive into a pool for up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes with no water damage. Both phones offer USB Type-C connections and have only one speaker at the bottom, and they both offer headphone jacks. Now, the Galaxy S8 supports Bluetooth 5.0, which allows you to connect two separate Bluetooth speakers or headphones at the same time to your S8. This might be useful if you wanted to listen to a song on your phone with a friend or a gym partner, while each person uses their own Bluetooth earphones to connect to the same Galaxy S8 smartphone. I'm sure you can think of many other possibilities. So in this category, S8 comes out on top, especially in presentation, but the rugged and solid feel of the G6 in the hand does have its unique flavor and will appeal to some people. However, in the smartphone world, a great design certainly grabs more attention, and that's why S8 comes out on top. Now let's talk about the processor, memory, and storage. The Galaxy S8 sports a powerful Snapdragon 835 processor, 4GB of RAM, and 64GB of internal storage, priced at approximately $750. The LG G6 has a Snapdragon 821 processor, 4GB of RAM, and can be acquired with 32GB of internal storage, priced approximately at $720. Both phones allow for micro SD expansion. The S8 allows you to add up to a maximum of 256 gigabytes of extra storage using a micro SD card, but the G6 actually allows you up to 2 terabytes of extra storage using a micro SD card. Both phones are smooth and stable and rarely lag on a daily basis, which is very pleasing. However, the Galaxy S8, due to its stronger processor and graphics chip, was able to handle heavy-duty graphic-intensive games like Modern Combat 5 and Dead Trigger 2 with exceptional fluidity. There was no stutter or frame rate drops even at the highest settings on the S8, but with the G6, expect some lag and stutter when playing graphically intense games. However, for non-intense games, both phones perform admirably and daily usage is as smooth as silk. And of course, the S8, due to its newer processor, produces more raw horsepower in benchmark tests, as you can see. In Geekbench, it has a significantly higher score for the multi-core score, so winning this category in this department goes to the S8. Anyway, let's move on to the dimensions. The G6 measures 148.9mm in height, 71.9mm wide, and 7.9mm thick, and weighs 163 grams. The S8 measures 148.9mm in height, 68.1mm wide, and 8mm thick. It weighs 155 grams. As you can see, we have similar dimensions. But what's really important is how these phones use the total surface area. In both cases, they do a great job of giving us large displays with very thin bezels. On top of that, the phones are not obnoxiously large, so despite huge screens, the thin bezels make them usable with one hand. So let's talk about the actual display while we are on the topic. The G5 has a 5.7-inch display, Quad HD Plus resolution, and 565 pixels per inches. Its screen to body ratio is approximately 78%. The S8 has a 5.8-inch display, also a Quad HD Plus resolution, and 570 pixels per inches. Its screen to body ratio is 84%. I'm not going to sit here and microanalyze every little display metric. What I will say is that both of these displays deliver exceptional viewing performance. They are both sharp and bright displays with excellent contrast. And both of these displays offer HDR capabilities. However, the S8 does have a slight lead in overall quality. But the lead in display quality isn't great enough to choose one over the other. What's more important is the design, which we already talked about. The S8 has a more striking design with curved edges. It gives you a higher screen to body ratio, so you do get slightly more screen on the front with the S8. But I would say that in the display department, everything seems to be great on either phone. Let's move on to the software. Both phones run on the latest version of Android, offer a smooth and lag-free experience for daily use, and are full of deep and rich features that would satisfy any Android user who likes to customize and personalize their smartphones. Both phones offer split-screen multitasking, which is great for productivity. I would rate the software experience on both devices almost the same, but the S8 has a few extra features that make it slightly more appealing. For instance, the S8 offers you edge panels that can be invoked by sliding inwards, which offers widget-like panels such as a calculator, calendar snapshot, a ruler, a compass, weather information. You can have app shortcuts and so much more. It's not an essential feature, but it's still quite a unique and attractive element. Again, S8 has a few extra features, but the grand total software experience is just about the same. They're both feature-rich, highly customizable, and offer smooth and silky operation, which is very important. Now let's move on to the camera. This is where the LG G6 shines brighter than the S8, not because it has a better camera, rather because it has two built-in camera lenses. So let's put this in perspective. The S8 has a standard angle 12 megapixel camera with an aperture of f1.7, while the LG G6 has one standard 13 megapixel camera with an aperture of f1.8 and another super wide angle camera with an aperture of f2.4. So both phones have a standard angle lens, but only G6 has a secondary wide angle lens which makes photos like these possible. And I think that's a very practical option to have because you can fit more into your photos if you so desired. Now the S8 will give you slightly better sharpness and better low light performance than the LG G6 using the standard angle lens. However, for an average consumer, that quality difference isn't a deal maker. As a matter of fact, the average consumer will most likely enjoy the option of having an extra wide angle lens on their smartphones. It's literally like having two cameras on your smartphone. Both phones are capable of recording in 4K at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30 or 60 frames per second, and allow for slow motion video. Those are great options. And then on the front, the S8 has an 8 megapixel camera, while the LG G6 has a 5 megapixel camera. They both take great selfies. The S8 is going to be a little bit sharper. So in the camera department, I would say that either phone will satisfy most people. But the LG G6 does bring an extra wide-angle lens to the table. On the flip side, the S8 brings an extra bit of sharpness and better low-light performance compared to the LG for the standard angle camera. It's really hard to draw a conclusion because we have pros and cons on each side, so we will call this a draw. So let's talk about biometrics. The S8 offers 3 different biometric options: fingerprint sensor, iris scanner, and facial recognition. G6 offers only one option, fingerprint sensor. So S8 certainly gives you more options to consider. However, I'm not a big fan of the actual location of the rear fingerprint sensor on the S8. I much prefer the fingerprint sensor placement of the G6 under the camera and centered. It makes the G6 seem more symmetrical from a design perspective, and also practically I think it is more ergonomic to have a fingerprint sensor isolated as opposed to putting it next to the camera. Beyond that, both fingerprint sensors work flawlessly with maximum accuracy. And although the iris scanner on the S8 is great for security, the facial recognition should not be used as a primary security option because someone can actually use a photo of your face to unlock your S8. Samsung themselves do not recommend it as a primary security option. So in this department, S8 brings more options to the table, but the awkwardly placed fingerprint sensor isn't as convenient as the G6's centered and lowered fingerprint sensor. This is not a category that's a big deal, so let's move on to the battery. The G6 has a 3300 mAh battery and the S8 has a 3000 mAh battery. In my tests, the S8 emerged as the winner with 1 to 2 hours of extra battery life over the G6. Now they will both last a full day with medium use, but at the end of that day, S8 will still have a little bit of extra juice to perhaps watch a few more YouTube videos or listen to some extra music. Beyond that, both phones offer super fast wired charging and wireless charging. Now with the fast wired charging, you can charge either of these smartphones from 0 to 100% in 1.5 hours. Now the S8 supports fast wireless charging as well, but the G6 does not. Overall, the S8 takes the lead. It has a longer battery life and offers fast wireless charging. And that's basically everything, so it's time to draw a conclusion. This is a very tight battle. If you analyze each comparison metric carefully, it appears that the S8 has a lead just about everywhere. Better design, newer and faster processor that results in superior gaming experience, slightly better battery life, and some extra bit of technology such as fast wireless charging and an iris scanner. However, of these leads, only 2 are actually prominent: the design and processing power. In every other category, the S8 has only a marginal lead over the G6. And if you are that person who prefers the unique and solid feel of the LG G6, you will be better off with the G6. G6 still has an amazing display, still is IP68 grade water resistant, still has not 1 but 2 great cameras, still has fast charging and wireless charging. So it is definitely a technologically advanced device. So here's my conclusion. If you cannot get over the beauty of the S8 and have a special need for top processing power, get the S8. Otherwise, you can go with either phone and remain quite satisfied with your ownership. These are in fact 2 of the best Android smartphones in the world. So let me know down in the comments below which one you chose and why. And of course, that brings us to the end of this video. Make sure to subscribe to Saki Tech for more videos and give this video a thumbs up to indicate your love of wonderful flagship smartphones. And of course, do not forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Saki Tech Online. Guys, have a fantastic day.